Ada had always been a quiet, reserved girl at school, comfortable in her little bubble of friends. Before we go further, please I would like you to take just 30 seconds to subscribe to this channel and help me grow. While at it, make sure you like the video and comment where you're watching from. Thank you. Now let's continue with our story. Ada didn't crave the limelight and preferred the company of a few close friends to the popularity of the school's it girls. But that all changed one day when she received a message from Zora, the most popular girl in her year. Zora's message was simple yet alluring. Hey Ada, I think you're really cool. I am hosting a big party at my mansion and I'd love you to come to this party tonight. At first, Ada thought it was a joke. Zora was known for her exclusive circle, and Ada was nowhere near the top of that social ladder. But there it was again, another message, a gentle nudge. I'm serious, come have some fun. Ada was torn. She had always admired Zora from afar, but part of her wondered if this was a prank. After much internal debate, Ada decided to go. The thought of finally being part of the crowd, of having the chance to be noticed by people who usually looked past her, filled her with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. She spent hours getting ready, picking out her best dress, the one she had been saving for a special occasion. That night, Ada felt like a new version of herself, one that could be a part of something bigger, something important. Ada arrived at the party, heart pounding in her chest as she stood outside the house. It was bigger than she had imagined, a grand two-story building, lights flashing, music thumping. She took a deep breath and walked up the driveway, her heels clicking loudly against the pavement. Zora and a few other girls greeted her warmly, and Ada felt an unexpected wave of relief. Maybe this would be fun after all. Inside, the party was in full swing. People danced, laughed, and gathered in groups, chatting away. Ada was introduced to a few others, some she recognized and others she didn't. The moment she stepped into the crowd, it felt like a scene from a movie. Everything was alive and full of energy. But amidst the excitement, Ada couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Zora seemed especially attentive, making sure Ada was comfortable, but there was something in her smile that didn't quite sit right. Still, Ada tried to brush it off, lost in the whirlwind of flashing lights and the loud music. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged. As the night progressed, Ada began to notice the strange behavior of Zora and her friends. It was subtle at first, a little offhand comment here and there, but soon it became more apparent. Zora was too eager, almost too nice, while the others laughed a little too loudly at things Ada said. It wasn't the carefree laughter she had imagined, but a mocking, condescending sound that sent a chill down her spine. Still, she convinced herself that she was overthinking it. Maybe it was all in her head, maybe she was just too nervous. Then, as the night grew older, Zora suggested a game of truth or dare, which Ada reluctantly agreed to join. The game started out innocently enough, with a few harmless dares and truths. But it didn't take long for things to take a cruel turn. The dares grew more embarrassing, singing in front of the group, doing silly dances, and eventually, the ultimate dare, Ada was told to dance alone in the middle of the room. Ada's face flushed crimson, her palms sweating as she stood there, surrounded by a circle of laughing faces. She did her best to follow the beat of the music, but she felt like an alien in her own skin. The laughter grew louder as her movements became more awkward. Zora's eyes gleamed with amusement, and Ada realized with a sinking feeling that this wasn't a fun game, it was all a setup. The music blared, drowning out everything except for the sound of her own heartbeat. Ada danced, trying to keep up, but the laughter from the group was deafening. Zora's phone was out, recording everything. Ada felt the floor beneath her feet slip away, and her confidence crumbled. The laughter, the mocking stares, the phone recording every misstep, she felt like a joke. The longer she danced, the more she wanted to disappear. It wasn't fun anymore. It was humiliating. Her body moved like it was out of her control, each step worse than the last. Finally, Zora called an end to the dare, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Ada felt exposed, vulnerable. She tried to laugh it off, hoping the attention would go away, but the whispers never stopped. She could feel the sting of the looks that followed her as she stepped away from the crowd. The party had turned into her worst nightmare, and the worst part was that it wasn't over. The video Zora had recorded was already being shared with others. Ada tried to ignore it, but she could already feel the tension building in her chest. What had she gotten herself into? The next day, Ada woke up to a storm of notifications on her phone. She felt a sinking feeling in her stomach as she scrolled through her messages. The video was everywhere. Students from all grades were sharing it, laughing at her. It didn't take long for the video to go viral. It was a clip of her dancing, looking like a fool, and it was being passed around with cruel captions and memes. "When you try too hard to fit in," one caption read. Another one said, "Ada, the dancing queen." Ada felt like she was suffocating. It wasn't just the video, it was the judgment, the cruelty, the way people had turned her humiliation into entertainment. She tried to stay strong, but the comments, the endless memes, and the mocking voices at school became too much. People who had once barely acknowledged her existence were now pointing and laughing. She could hear them whispering behind her back, replaying the video for anyone who hadn't seen it yet. Ada's heart ached, and her self-esteem, which had never been that high to begin with, was now completely shattered. She felt smaller than ever before, as if the world was closing in on her. Every day felt like another layer of ridicule heaped on her. As the days dragged on, Ada became more and more withdrawn. She stopped eating, stopped going to school, and spent most of her time in her room, staring at her phone. The notifications kept coming, and with each one, her hopes seemed to diminish further. Her friends reached out to her, but she couldn't bring herself to respond. They didn't understand. They didn't know what it was like to be the butt of everyone's jokes. The loneliness enveloped her, and she felt more isolated than ever. The walls of her room, once a safe haven, now felt like a prison. It wasn't just the public humiliation that broke Ada. It was the betrayal. Zora had pretended to be her friend, only to use her as a pawn in a cruel game. Ada had trusted her, opened up to her, and now she felt completely betrayed. The darkness inside her grew, and she began to wonder if anyone cared about her at all. In the stillness of the night, when the world around her was quiet, Ada considered ending it all. She couldn't see any other way out of the pain. It seemed like the only option. Ada's attempt was a cry for help, a desperate plea for the torment to stop. When she was found, her parents were devastated, but it wasn't just them, her entire family felt the weight of what had happened. The school was shaken to its core, and teachers, counselors, and students alike began to ask themselves, how did we let this happen? Ada was rushed to the hospital, but she had fallen deep into herself, unable to communicate her pain. As Ada lay in the hospital bed, her classmates started to realize the consequences of their actions. Zora and her friends, the ones who had started it all, were consumed by guilt. They couldn't escape the image of Ada's pain, and the gravity of their cruelty began to haunt them. The school decided to take action. A school-wide meeting was called, and students were informed about the tragic event. The atmosphere was heavy with guilt, regret, and sorrow. No one could pretend like nothing had happened anymore. The days following Ada's hospitalization were a blur. Students began to reflect on their behavior, and the weight of their actions finally began to sink in. Zora, who had once been a leader of the cruel crowd, now found herself isolated, haunted by the girl she had helped humiliate. Her once unshakable confidence was replaced by remorse. She reached out to Ada's family, apologizing for what she had done, but the damage was already done. Ada's absence from school spoke louder than any apology could. In the wake of Ada's attempt, the school administration took steps to address the issue of bullying. First of all, Zora was suspended for 3 weeks with some of her friends who were known for bullying other students. Counselors were brought in to speak to students about mental health, and workshops on kindness were held regularly. The school decided to launch a campaign for mental health awareness, calling it Be Kind. It was a movement sparked by Ada's pain, one that was determined to make sure no one ever felt as she had. Be Kind became more than just a school initiative. It spread like wildfire across the community. Students who had once mocked Ada now wore t-shirts with the campaign's logo. They shared their stories, opening up about the pressures of fitting in, the need to be accepted, and how easy it was to hurt others without even realizing it. Zora was really remorseful for what she did, and it showed in her behavior when she got back to school from the suspension. Ada slowly recovered, but it wasn't easy. Her trust had been shattered, and she would never forget the hurt. But with time, and with the support of her family and a few true friends, Ada found the strength to heal. The scars, both emotional and mental, would stay with her forever, but Ada knew one thing for certain: she would never let anyone make her feel small again. And for Zora, I promise I would teach her a bitter lesson that she wouldn't forget in her entire life, she said to herself. Thank you for watching. If you would love to see part 2, then please do well to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Bye.